Three kings, a star, and directions. I'll try and tie them all together by the end of the homily. Yesterday morning, after Father Lou and I had finished praying morning prayer from the Divine Office, I mentioned to him that I felt a bit like Simeon and Anna from last Sunday's Gospel. If you remember, they were the ones who spent their days in the temple praying. Just a week ago, we celebrated Christmas Eve on Thursday, and then Christmas Day on Friday, and then Holy Family Sunday on Saturday evening and Sunday, and then it was Mary, the Mother of God, with the Vigil Mass on Thursday and 2 Masses on Friday, and now we're celebrating the Feast of the Epiphany last night and today. And it's all really quite wonderful, but I find it a bit exhausting. Three kings. The story of the Magi only appears in Matthew's Gospel. The first words in his Gospel that are spoken are these: "Where is the newborn King of the Jews?" This is a theme that will resonate throughout Matthew's Gospel. To be a king in the Jewish world was not just a political position of power. The Jewish people believed that God alone was their king, and that any human king had the responsibility to represent God. The people looked to the kings to manifest God's justice, mercy, wisdom, and protection. Yet, so many of their rulers did not. The Magi were seeking the face of God in human representation, and they did not find it in Herod. Herod represented the ruthless power and political cunning of the world. He even executed 3 of his own sons. Throughout the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus will show us the face of the Father, and in doing so, he will authentically serve as God's perfect representative to all the world, to every land, every nation, every people, for all time. This is in stark contrast to Herod and all of those self-centered, untamed, and power-clinging kings and queens of our day who cause suffering and death for others. They only represent themselves. Egocentric and narcissistic, they want the world to revolve around them. How different this newborn king will be. No wonder he was crucified. Then, with truthful irony, the declaration hung on his instrument of death, the King of the Jews. A star. Because it was cloudy a few weeks ago, we did not get to see Jupiter and Saturn in their closest proximity in the celestial sky. It will be another 800 years before this happens again. I don't plan to be around for that. In order to see the skies, you have to raise your head and your eyes to look up. When I'm not wearing one of my neck braces, it's very difficult for me to lift up my head. Unfortunately, I miss so much. I miss looking up at the clouds and the blue sky. Do you remember the blue sky? I miss the trees, looking up at the birds, and even seeing people. I came around the corner Saturday morning, and Francine, who coordinates the laundry angels for the men's shelter, was standing outside, and she joyfully greeted me, "Good morning, Father Jim." But because I was wearing my baseball cap and my head was drooping down, I had no idea she was there. She startled me because I couldn't see her. To see and to recognize the presence of God, we symbolically have to look up, to see and envision more than what is just at our feet. We live in a time that is deeply cynical, mistrusting, reactionary, and revisionist. As Isaiah proclaims in our first reading, "See, darkness covers the earth, and thick clouds cover the peoples." Ideologues of all sorts want to rewrite or erase human history and human understanding according to their own kingly worldview. If one lifts up one's head to disagree, social media shaming quickly leads to keeping one's head down so as not to incur the wrath of backlash. The Catholic Church is not and has not been immune to this reality. And at times, the Church has had its critics, and sometimes rightly so. As the Second Vatican Council affirmed, the Church is always in need of reform. Yet, she endeavors to show and point us to the star that is Jesus Christ, who is the way, the truth, and the life. We, in turn, are called to be light for others, leading them to the true light, Jesus Christ. Kings, a star, and now directions. In the 4 Eucharistic prayers for various needs, we hear these words: "You are indeed holy, and to be glorified, O God, who love the human race and who always walk with us on the journey of life." Journey of life. What about our spiritual journey? Because of all the events of 2020, especially the lockdown and the closing of churches for months, have we been merely meandering, wandering about without direction, meaning, or purpose? As I've often quoted Stephen Covey before, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And so it is important for us to ask ourselves on this feast of the Epiphany at the beginning of 2021, where am I headed? Where am I headed as a dad or a mom, a spouse, a daughter or son, a priest, a friend, a baptized Catholic, a disciple of Jesus Christ? Where am I headed? Who am I following? Who is the king and ruler of my heart and my soul? Will I continue to search for Christ each day of 2021, or give up because there's just too much resistance from others, from the culture, or from myself? What are the gifts that I will bring to Christ? Will I begin my day with yes to what God has in store? And will I end my day with yes to what God has done throughout the day? My sisters, my brothers, my fellow pilgrims, let us pray, help, and encourage one another to journey with purpose in following Jesus Christ, our true King and the true light of the world.